Hey, what's going on, everyone? Drew again here at IM3 booth, VCS 2017. We are capping off our meeting today with Dr. Corey Maas. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so how's the show been for you so far?
Show's been good, but not nearly as good as the show you put on at Lake Tahoe, where you had a drone flying over dog sleds.
Yes.
To wonderful music and a great snow environment.
I'm glad you enjoyed that.
That was awesome.
You want to talk a little bit about that? Or let's talk about that a little bit later. Let's finish with VCS first. So you had a few presentations, right, that you've given?
Yeah.
You want to talk on those?
Sure. Well, first of all, I started this with Randy many years ago.
Okay.
And it was a very small offshoot of what we used to call the Newport Beach meeting.
Okay.
And he was very nervous about starting a VCS, and obviously it's become a great success, and multidisciplinary is, I think, the key to that, where we can all share ideas and thoughts. My talks this year, I was asked to do an overview of rejuvenation of the upper face, which kind of includes well, you can imagine it, the hair, the eyebrows, the forehead, and the eyes. And so when you're talking about a topic that broad in what was called a master's seminar, you got to limit it to some high points.
Sure.
But it was an opportunity with a good audience to talk a little bit about some of the advances that we've done in surgery of the upper face, including using endoscopes for brow lifting and some of the non or minimally invasive ways of doing eyelid surgery, as well as some of the newer technologies, lasers and injectable products that we have. So
great.
The world's changing quickly with that, and it's fun to talk about it.
Yeah. What about the other two presentations?
The other presentations were focusing, actually one really zoomed in on endoscopic brow plasty, because we've done, one of the big areas of interest is how, when you're doing an endoscope, you're not taking tissue out to lift. You're actually using some type of adhesive or a method to suspend the tissue until such time as it heals back to the bone. We're sort of lifting up the layer of tissue above the bone and repositioning it. And we need something to hold it, and I've developed a technique with completely off-label use of a product called BioGlue which is just a few drops of glue rather than drilling in the skull, which is attractive to a lot of patients.
Yeah, I could imagine.
Here they're not getting drilled in the skull.
Yeah, cool, good stuff. So have you been to, it's its 14th year of VCS, right?
Oh yeah.
Have you been to all of them?
Oh yeah, been to.
So talk a little bit about kind of the evolution, the first one to now and how it's grown.
Well, I think, so the content has always been good with the meetings that we've done and that Randy's done in particular. And he's just really on top of bringing in good speakers and thought leaders and works really hard to do it. So I'm very proud of that, proud of him for doing all that. And it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I think the concern is first year was, will I be able to make it? It's a big contract with these great big hotels in Vegas, and it's a lot at risk, but it was the biggest meeting he had ever had, that we had ever had with if you sort of combine the continuity of the Newport meeting.
Yeah.
And it's just grown every year.
Cool.
With the people that really make these things happen are all the vendors, the sponsors that come, and because the registration fees don't nearly even get close to paying for these meetings. And look, the more people that are here, the more exchange of ideas, the better we all walk away.
Right. Good stuff. Cool. So you started off by talking a little bit about when I was visiting you in Tahoe for the California Society of Facial Plastic Surgeons meeting, which is yours. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the California Society is something that's been around for 20-some years now, and one of the founding members, which California does probably a third of the plastic surgery in the country, and probably half of the innovations in plastic surgery come from plastic surgeons and facial plastic and the dermatologists. And a lot of the innovative companies in our field are in California, so it only made sense. And then, when we were talking about our annual meeting, it was like, gosh, we've got a lot of nice venues, but you really can't get much better than the Sierras. And whether you ski or don't ski, it doesn't matter. You can go dog sledding, you can go snowshoeing, you can
take your drone out,
country, or in your case, you can take your drone out.
Yeah.
And it was an epic year for snow this year, and I think it's nice because we're able to combine a healthy recreational activity with the meeting contents, and people feel a little more relaxed. I think it's a much more open dialogue. We're not quite so rigid on the timing of each talk, and and that really promotes a lot of sharing of personal things that in terms of their professional ways of doing things, how they might do them that don't often come out on a podium.
Cool. We'll shift gears a little bit. I just want to ask you some fun personal questions to get to know a little more about you, because you are a layered human being with a lot of different hobbies and skills, and your patients need to know that. So to talk to me a little bit, let's talk about the Golden State Warriors first and your passion for them and your season tickets for.
Well, we're big. I'm an athlete from now a wannabe athlete, an old athlete, but played lots of sports as a young person and still do play sports. But I've got a couple youngsters now, 15 and 12, that are very good basketball and baseball players, and we certainly support them. And having really good pro teams around to go to, we have Giants tickets and Warriors tickets, and we like both the teams. The Warriors are off the charts, great to watch.
Yep.
They're really entertaining, and we're excited to be there every time.
And I saw him game one on TV too, so he's got great tickets.
Yeah, the seats are good enough to get a good view and really get a feel of the game, which I think is an important part of it. And the Giants aren't as hot this year, but some years are good and some aren't. Just
can't win them all.
That's the way these things go.
So you do something else that's also really cool. You fly planes, right?
Yeah, I've been a pilot for a long time. I have an office in Tahoe, so driving the Highway 80 is freeway between San Francisco and Reno, and of course, right before you get to Reno is where the mountains and the skiing, all that stuff is right in that corridor. But driving that freeway is something that is less than desirable.
So just fly.
And it's a beautiful flight. It takes me 45 minutes from a little tiny airport in San Rafael where I park my twin-engine Cessna, and I have a twin engine because after many nights of flying over the Sierra, you think about what pilots, like surgeons, always think about. What is the worst case scenario? What would happen in the worst case scenario? And so you always want to manage downside risk. And with a single engine airplane, if you had an engine out or some issue, you don't really have a lot of options in the mountains. So on the flats, you could land on a freeway or a road or something, but in the mountains, you don't have many options. With the twin, you can get to where you're needing to go, at least somewhere. You can get back to where you need to go, so you can get the plane on the ground.
Okay, a few more questions. Why did you become a plastic surgeon?
Well, I started. I fell into it. I think a lot of people do. I was doing head and neck surgery residency, and I had a lot of mentors that were interested in reconstructive plastic surgery and in aesthetic plastic surgery. Every one of my mentors in my residency did facial plastic surgery.
Okay.
And noses and facelifts and eyelids, and so I had a lot of people that were not just that, they did everything, and it was a different time period really then. And there were a few specialists that just did ears and things like that, but the bulk of the head and neck surgeons that I worked with, we would do cancer surgery and reconstruction, and I really liked the reconstruction and the cosmetic surgery part of it, and decided that was the direction I wanted to go. And when I finished my fellowship, I stayed in academics for 12 years. Teaching it too, so at UCSF in San Francisco.
Cool. What do you love most about your job?
I think the challenges are good, and I think the patients make it fun. I like all my patients, which is great. You get to know people in a unique sort of way, and there's a special trust and bond that people have with their surgeon, and I am very honored to have that relationship, and it's a great responsibility, but also a great gift that people are giving you that kind of trust. So,
cool.
Yeah, I like that part.
Yeah.
Running a business, I'm not very good at it, but the other part, being a doctor, I like.
I think you're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, last question. If you could be any kind of animal, a spirit animal, what animal would you be?
I guess when I was just in Africa a year and a half ago.
Okay.
I love those lions.
Yeah?
They're good animals.
Why?
They work together and as a pride, if you will, and they really nurture and take care of their cubs, and they work hard to feed their families, and they're at the same time the king of the jungle. I guess that's really an interesting combination, but they epitomize a lot of a lot of good effort and good outcomes, and working as a family. That's a good thing.
I like it. Cool. Yeah. All right. Well, Dr. Maas, here's us signing off from VCS 2017. Thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Drew. Good to see you.
And we'll see you soon.
Guys.
Yeah. Thank you. See you guys.